Hi, I'm K.D. Kitchenham here again. I'm ready to present you with yet another pearl of history that I've wrenched deep from the innards of that giant oyster we all call Southampton. Now, I was reading something kind of insulting to our town the other day, and the Guinness World Book of Records says Pluckley, England, has more ghosts, is the most haunted town in England. And I thought to myself, 15 ghosts, 1,000 people? Well, Southampton will blow them right out of the water. I did a little informal survey when I found that 4% of houses in a municipality usually have some sort of ghostly lore tied to them. Well, when I started crunching the numbers on Southampton, it looked like it was more like 8% of the, or 12% of the houses had some sort of supernatural tradition associated with them. And man, you go in the business district, it's more like 20%. Every store you go into on the main street has poltergeists, the boogeyman, anything you want to hear about. But, you know, if you don't like ghosts and you want to live in Southampton, there's one place I can think of that, oh, it's like Fort Knox against ghosts. It's at 21 Huron Street North. It's the old Launch House. And I guarantee you, folks, there are no ghosts in there. I'm not even sure they're allowed on the property. And I'll tell you why. The Lodge House, it was lived in by the Lodge family, Reddy Lodge, an old early settler in Port Elgin in Southampton here. The guy, he was a commercial fisherman. He plied his trade all around the Great Lakes, even up in Lake Nipissing, up by North Bay. And, oh, he was a storyteller, a skilly skipper, a founding father. And after 1990, when was that renovations done? 2003?
2004.
2004. Well, I found out why Reddy died at age 104. He was also a practitioner of apotropaic magic. And not until renovations started to be done on the guy's place that his secret magical activities were revealed. And, you know, you find stashes like this around in England, Australia, but this was a real treasure trove. Now, this was something a lot of people did in Southampton, but no one ever talked about. Apotropaic magic keeps evil away, like demons and witches and devils and so on. And what you do is you take an old pair of your little kid's shoes and you nail them up in the kitchen near the door. And you nail them up in the floor underneath where the stove is. And and if you got shoes, you put them near windows. And I'm not talking about 4 shoes here. I mean, when they started doing the renovations on Reddy's place, they pulled like a dozen singles out of the wall in these 2 pairs here. And what people believed was that witches, if they got into your house or if their familiars got into their house, like a mouse or a bat or a rat or something, instead of being attracted to your children, they would smell these shoes in the wall. I know it's goofy, but people have been doing this since 1308 that we know of. And anyway, the witches would crawl inside these shoes, and witches are straightforward kind of spooks. Like, they can't back up. Once they got into those shoes, they were just stuck there for all of eternity. And they wouldn't bother your kids, they wouldn't bother you. And, you know, over in Bruce County, concealment shoes aren't really that rare. I can think of one shoe that was found in a chimney in Paisley. There were 5 singles that showed up in Kincardine. down by Orangeville. They found some. And the newest concealment shoe ever found was found in Etobicoke, and it dates from the early 1930s. So anyway, they started doing renovations in that place, and all these weird little shoes started coming out of the walls. And just shoe after shoe. And like, it's not surprising that nobody knows about them. Like, people never even knew concealment shoes were a thing until 1957. And now there's a concealment shoe database in England. And these have been registered with it, I believe. Or the cache at Reddy's house has been registered with the concealment shoe database. And you know, the Beta Shoe Museum in Toronto, if you go there looking for concealment shoes, they got 18,000 shoes and one concealment shoe. I mean, they could really do with a donation from, you know, handymen who find these things. So anyway, as if that wasn't strange enough, but Reddy, he was prepared for anything. Witches and demons, devils, and so on. Well, Apotropaic magic goes a lot further than that. Reddy wanted to put the run on elves, brownies, and hobgoblins. And you can't do that with kids' shoes. No, sir, you gotta take your nightshirt. You gotta roll it up and nail it up over the wall inside the paneling. You've gotta have sharp objects. Here, let me show you a few of the things that have come out of Reddy's walls that are straight out of the Spiritual Mitten Handbook. Why, what do we have? We have sharp objects like forks, knives to cut demons with, or chop up hobgoblins, metal spoons. You know, even back in the 1600s, people were hiding old shoe brushes inside their stashes of stuff to keep the hobgoblins away. And strange ritual things like this. This is a knife sharpener to keep your brownie spearing knives sharp. It's a real oldie. It's covered with shark skin or ray skin. It's called shagreen. I could really put a good edge on something like that. But that was included in the wall. These things weren't just garbage that was accidentally dumped there. When you're fighting brownies and demons and goblins and so on, like kids stuff just don't do it. You gotta have knives. You have to have personal possessions of your own that mean something, like these spooky looking suspenders that come out of the walls. Now these were probably Reddy's, and they're really high quality, with, you know, heavy brass fittings, late 19th century, but they went into the walls. And let me show you this. There's always a religious component. I have a little leather pouch here, and it contains a depiction of the medal. Oh yeah, what does it say here? It says it's the Royal American... Oh yeah, the Royal American Order of Isabel the Catholic, whichever, as everyone knows, was set up in Spain about 1807 for people who furthered the interest of the Spanish in the development of the Americas. What this has to do with the Lodge family, I have yet to determine. But it's a very strange thing. It's called the American Order. And that was dropped from the name of this order in 1847. So this little depiction of it must be fairly old. Well, the Lodge family were Métis, and so it's not surprising you find something from Isabella the Catholic, or this creepy little thing here. It's a cardboard heart with an exclamation drawn on it. Why would you hide that in the walls of your house? Because it's a spiritual midden. Another component of spiritual middens is health care. There's all kinds of bottles walled up in Lange's house. I've got a big cardboard box filled with other bottles. And these are the oldies. They're the corkers from, say, pre-1900. And these medicine bottles were put in, which were purchased at DeLong's Pharmacy. There's a label from one there. And you know, these were put in to ward off potential sickness. And here's an old favorite for warding off sickness. What we got here is a Nervaline bottle. It's the 50-cent family size. It was a liniment, but I think there were joys of drinking this stuff that were far greater than what you'd get from rubbing it on the outside of you. Big stashes of Nervaline are found whenever people are tearing down an old hotel that was around when periods of Prohibition. Well, I don't know what Mrs. Lange was trying to ward off with this stuff, but in the walls is a very excellent condition box for Tetlo's Pussy Willow powder. I don't know how many Pussy Willows you could powder with this thing, but I think it's 2.5 ounces in there. And this came out in 1920. It was Tetlo's newest packaging program. So Mrs. Lange obviously felt that, you know, there were things that needed to be powdered in the demon world. So that's what this went in there for. So on a street where madness and deeds of depravity are extremely common, Mr. Lange's house has remained an island of sanity. Why, just next door to him is the Spence house, where people kept dying of brain fever and things like that. And, well, across the street is Magnus Spence's house. And Magnus, his jar lid wasn't screwed on too tight either. And you know, that house was ripped right down. There wasn't a single shoe found in those walls, and you can sort of understand why. But Reddy Lange's place, you know, like a lot of people back in the day did this. They hid it, they kept it secret. And they kept it secret from their neighbors and each other. I've heard of a stash of work boots being uncovered a while ago, and in an old house, and the work boots had all been sliced across the upper part with an axe to ritually kill them. But this stuff went on, and no one talked to anyone else about it. There's not even anything in folklore literature about it. Nobody even realized it was going on till 1957. And you can understand why, too. Can you imagine already go stomping down to the bar and having a great big glass of brandy and saying, "Well, boys, I nailed up a bunch of baby shoes in my kitchen to keep the witches away. And then I nailed up a nightshirt and a whole bunch of suspenders because those goddamn hobgoblins are just waiting outside to get me." Well, that's not stuff you tell your fishing buddies. That's not stuff you'd even want to tell a head shrinker. But it was common. Everyone did it. Nobody talked about it. The only thing in literature about the devil being concealed in shoes was written in about 1658 in England. And even though everybody did it, it was passed on from family member to family member, not neighbor to neighbor. And nobody wanted to publicly believe in witches or hobgoblins or brownies or fairies, but they all did. History tells it. If you do happen to find anything like that nailed up in your walls, what you should do is, well, I was going to say donate it to the museum, but the person who discovered these took them up to the museum back in 2003, 2004, and they wouldn't even accept them. They had no idea that concealment shoes were even a thing at that time. So the shoes went back, and all except these couple of pairs were nailed right back up in the walls again, making the place secure. Because they're filled with witches. You don't want those things getting out. You got witches, you got big trouble. But anyway, all of these little things, if no one will accept them, they have to go right back where they were supposed to. Ow! Something's biting me in there! God, get this thing off of me!